Do you listen to the Wrestling Perspective podcast?
No, I don't even know what that is.
That's great news because AEW star Matt Hardy recently spoke with them about him and Jeff first splitting up. He recalls how they had become very popular as a tag team. So we were at the point where the Hardys became super popular and we did so well. In the year 2000, oh, the good old days, we sold the most merchandise of any tag team in the history of WWE. That's pretty cool.
That.
Yeah, no, I do believe that by a margin, especially with Lita there as well. He revealed, which is amazing, and it is so cool that we were able to achieve that level of success. But as time went on, and obviously Jeff was like the standout guy, but as time went on, obviously Jeff felt like the standout guy. This is where it gets kind of interesting. So Vince always chose Jeff over Matt and the Hardy Boys. When it came to Edge and Christian, he always chose Edge over Christian. That's something myself and Christian always have in common. We were a little underrated. We never got all the credit we deserve sometimes in his eye. Matt Hardy admitted that becoming a single star was something that he was excited about. That's because the Daredevil persona wasn't something that played to his strength. For Matt, it was all about taking on over-the-top gimmicks. The Hardy Boys persona of the adrenaline junkie or the Daredevil, the guy who's the death-defying competitor, wasn't really my strength, he said. Even though I played it and I could do that, my strength has always been, in my opinion, to play an over-the-top, larger-than-life character. Matt Hardy then spoke about how he didn't need to compare himself with Jeff. That's because Matt understood that his brother is a beloved figure within the professional wrestling industry. Instead, he concentrated on telling his own story. So I think with me, realization of understanding that Jeff is one of the most beloved figures in all of wrestling ever in history. It's insane how beloved he is, Matt said. So working on a scale with him, you have to be realistic and be like, hold up, you can still be magnificent and super popular and people dig you, but you can't compare yourself to him. Everyone is different. Once again, you're much better off when you don't feel like you're racing against somebody, but you're racing against yourself to do better and improve upon yourself. I just wanted a chance to do my own, to tell my own stories. Seems reasonable. What do you think about the idea that Matt Hardy suggests that Vince McMahon always chose Jeff over him? Do you think that's fair? I mean, Jeff was a former WWE champion. Matt Hardy didn't really... I think he won the ECW title, but
yeah,
are we going to throw that in there as a legit... Come on, like... So... You know, there's a lot of facts and evidence to back that suggestion up. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
I think it is because, like, Jeff was the one doing all the big high spots. You know, the swatons off the ladders, the taking the spear from Edge off the ladder at Mania, like all the high stuff. I would absolutely say that. And Matt, to his credit, did go out and reinvent himself. You know, did the big money Matt, did when the Broken Universe was first a thing. That was revolutionary, for lack of a better word, because it just brought something TNA, so
didn't it? Like, let's be real.
Yes, something so completely different. And then, you know, Jeff eventually went back to, you know, the whole Brother Nero thing. He brought him into it, but that was all Matt's idea. So Jeff might have been the more popular one, but I think Matt's probably had a bit more of a mind for wrestling. Maybe not now because he's actually insane, but that's neither here nor there.
Like, to be honest, like, I actually think that Jeff is kind of the mild one out of the two, ironically. I know it's taken a long time to get to that point, but it does feel like he's far less insane, Jeff, than Matt at this point. Yeah, I think it is fair to say. See, you know, this is the problem with the dirt sheet. So the headline just reads, Vince McMahon always chose Jeff over me. Like, it was, you know, it makes it sound whiny. But in retrospect, when you actually bother to read the article and listen to the actual statement that Matt Hardy says, you know, at no point does he say, you know, I was better than Jeff and I never got the credit I deserved or anything like that. All he's simply saying is it was very evident that Jeff was going to get a bit more attention than me because of what he would do. You know, that's pretty much what he's paraphrasing there. And he's not wrong there. I mean, you know, when I think of the Hardy Boys, I automatically think it's Jeff Hardy leapfrogging over the ladder. It's Jeff Hardy, you know, getting speared in midair at WrestleMania 17, doing a swanton at, I think, WrestleMania 33 off a ladder through Sheamus and Cesaro and only killing one of them and completely missing the other. You know, stuff like that and all these crazy stunts. And it takes a while for me to clock what Matt Hardy did in the Hardy Boys. And that's where I think he's got a fair assessment of things. It's just a shame because, in my opinion, the reason that Jeff ended up with WWE titles and was world champion in TNA as well, before Matt really kind of even got close to kicking in the gear, didn't he, as a world champion or a very respected high-end main event caliber wrestler. I think the reason for that is because Jeff Hardy was obviously just willing to do a lot more. And I think in that time period, Matt Hardy was still in that shadow and he never really pushed hard enough to get out of it until he went into broken Matt mode. And then, of course, they ended up aligning anyway, because if there's one thing you have to say, blood is definitely thicker than anything else in their scenario. They've always looked after each other. And when you consider that both of them have their demons, no question, but let's be fair, Jeff has a fair few more. And you know what? Matt has never given up on him over there. He's never shit-canned him over there. He's always been there for him. You know, no matter how many awkward videos or bad moments like the TNA main event, you know, Victory Road, I think it was. Like, there's always been that unity. And it's lovely because I don't come out of this conversation thinking, Matt hates Jeff or Jeff hates Matt. Matt resents Jeff. There's peace there. There's definitely that sense of like, it's okay. It's cool. Because I've had an amazing fucking career too, and I'm always going to be remembered. And more people, to be fair, talk about Matt Hardy now than they do Jeff. That's kind of happenstance because Jeff is probably waiting to turn up at AEW at some point, whereas obviously Matt's been doing fairly prominent work for the last 2 or 3 years in AEW, whether you like it or not. I don't personally like a lot of it, and the stuff with Sammy Guevara, frankly, I found very distasteful and a little bit uncomfortable, like seeing him, you know, take horrible, clearly concussed and things of that nature. But yeah, the bottom line for me is that that's a fair assessment. It's a fair assessment. And, you know, you mentioned Edge and Christian in there as well. That's a very fair assessment. I think Edge will always be remembered as the better of the two and had the better career at least, but Christian should never be thought of less. And I don't think that if you put Edge and Christian in a room, like, I think Christian probably would resent Edge's push a little bit more because he's always believed himself to be on his level in terms of microphone work, body of work, wrestling style and everything. Not to say that he would resent Edge personally. I think he would more just kind of think, well, yeah, I believe that I should have been a Hall of Fame caliber wrestler too, and doesn't feel like it's quite panned out as much for Christian in that regard like it has for Edge. But they're both still getting the opportunity to work. That's the most important thing when you get up in there. When you get up in years, you got happy families and healthy legs and limbs to work with. That's all that matters, really.